Imagine for a moment that the greatest obstacle to living a life of strength, clarity, and fulfillment isn't the opinions of others, the challenges of society, or the uncertainty of the future. The real obstacle often hides much closer to home, within us. It's the subtle, quiet, and often unnoticed ways we undervalue ourselves. This isn't just a motivational idea. It's a reality deeply understood by the ancient Stoics. Marcus Aurelius, one of the most powerful men in history, wrote in his Meditations that a person's true worth comes not from external praise or possessions, but from the choices they make in accordance with virtue. Epictetus taught that while we cannot always control what happens around us, we always control how we respond, and in that response lies our true power. Yet in today's world, many of us fail to recognize our worth. We stay in places that drain us, silence our own voices, and treat our victories as accidents rather than signs of courage and discipline. Without realizing it, we shrink ourselves to fit into molds shaped by fear, doubt, and comparison. And in doing so, we live beneath our potential. But Stoicism gives us a different lens, a way to uncover the hidden signs that we are undervaluing ourselves, and more importantly, the tools to rise above them. This is not about arrogance or self-importance. It's about fairness. It's about acknowledging your inherent value and living in alignment with it. So today, we'll explore 10 signs you might be undervaluing yourself without even realizing it, and how Stoic philosophy can guide you back to your rightful sense of worth. I'll ask you not to skip any part of this video. If you're here, you're not like everyone else. You're already searching for deeper meaning and wisdom. Consider yourself the exception. Now act like one. Let's begin this journey together. Sign 1. Accepting less than you deserve. Think about the moments in life where you've whispered to yourself, "This is fine, I'll just deal with it." Maybe it was a job that slowly drained the life out of you. Maybe it was a relationship that left you feeling more alone than supported. Or maybe it was a dream you quietly shelved because you convinced yourself it wasn't realistic. This, right here, is one of the most common ways we undervalue ourselves, by accepting less than we deserve. Why do we do it? Often it's fear. Fear of change, fear of failure, or even fear of success. Sometimes it's comfort, the kind of comfort that traps us in mediocrity. Other times, it's simply that voice of self-doubt, whispering that we're not worthy of more. But Stoicism reminds us that our worth is not measured by our circumstances. Whether you're seated on a throne like Marcus Aurelius or living in chains like Epictetus, your true value lies in how you respond to your situation, not the situation itself. When we settle for less, we allow external conditions to dictate our worth, instead of grounding it in the virtues we live by. Ask yourself, am I living in alignment with my values? Am I honoring my potential with the choices I make? If the answer is no, then you're not just enduring discomfort, you're quietly telling yourself you don't deserve better. But here's the Stoic truth: you always have a choice. You may not control your job market, your partner's actions, or the obstacles in front of you, but you do control how you interpret them, how you respond to them, and whether you choose to remain stuck or move forward. When you start demanding more, not out of arrogance, but out of respect for your worth, you break free of the invisible chains you've placed around yourself. Seneca once wrote, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." Wasting time in places that diminish you is one of the greatest forms of undervaluing yourself. So let this be a reminder. Your worth is not tied to your job title, your relationship status, or the balance in your bank account. Your worth is revealed when you act with wisdom, courage, and integrity, even when it's difficult. Don't settle for less, not because you are entitled, but because you are capable. The Stoics call us not to a life of resignation, but to a life of resilience, where we stand firmly in who we are and what we stand for. When you stop accepting less than you deserve, you don't just improve your circumstances, you begin to live in harmony with your true self. Sign 2. Minimizing your achievements. How many times have you brushed off a compliment with the words, "Oh, it was nothing," or downplayed a success by saying, "I just got lucky"? This habit, minimizing our achievements, is another subtle but powerful way we undervalue ourselves. It may feel like humility, but often it's not. It's self-neglect. Stoicism teaches us that virtues like wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance are the cornerstones of a well-lived life. And when you achieve something, no matter how small, it's usually because you've practiced one or more of these virtues. You showed courage by applying for that opportunity, wisdom by navigating a challenge, or temperance by staying disciplined when distraction called. When you dismiss these achievements as nothing, you're not just brushing off the result, you're ignoring the virtues you embodied to get there. And in doing so, you send yourself a dangerous message that your effort and growth aren't worth acknowledging. The Stoic perspective on this is about balance. It's not about boasting, nor is it about false modesty. It's about truth. Recognizing your achievements honestly is not an act of arrogance. It's an act of fairness. Epictetus taught that we should see ourselves as we are, without exaggeration or distortion. That means recognizing both our flaws and our strengths.
Here's an exercise. Think of something you've accomplished recently. It doesn't matter if it was big or small. Did you complete a difficult project? Did you finally get yourself to the gym after weeks of procrastination? Did you choose patience in a moment when anger would have been easier? Pause and reflect. What virtues did you practice in order to succeed in that moment? By doing this, you begin to see your achievements not as strokes of luck, but as evidence of your own character. The Stoics remind us that truth is virtue. If the truth is that you worked hard, persevered, and showed courage, then denying that truth is no more virtuous than inflating it. So the next time you're tempted to minimize your achievements, remind yourself this isn't about ego, it's about seeing reality clearly. Your achievements are milestones of growth, proof that you've exercised virtues that matter far more than applause or recognition. When you learn to honor them, you strengthen not only your confidence, but also your commitment to living virtuously. And that, according to Stoicism, is the essence of true self-value. Sign 3. Prioritizing others' needs over your own. At first glance, prioritizing others above yourself looks noble. It feels selfless, generous, even heroic. You stay late at work to cover for a colleague, you skip your own rest to help a friend, you push aside your dreams so your family can pursue theirs. But here's the paradox. Constantly putting others before yourself can slowly drain your spirit. Like trying to pour water from an empty jug, eventually you run dry. And when that happens, not only do you suffer, you're no longer able to genuinely support those around you. Stoicism offers us clarity here. It doesn't advocate selfishness. In fact, Stoicism emphasizes our duty to society, our responsibility to act with justice, and our obligation to help others. But at the same time, it insists on a foundational truth. You cannot serve others well if you neglect yourself. Think about it. Marcus Aurelius, who carried the weight of an empire, wrote often about the need to retreat into oneself, to preserve inner peace, and to care for one's own mind and body. He understood that without tending to his inner strength, he couldn't lead effectively. When you sacrifice your well-being endlessly for others, what you're really saying is, my needs don't matter. And that is one of the deepest forms of undervaluing yourself. Stoicism teaches us the dichotomy of control, that we are responsible for our own thoughts, choices, and well-being. The well-being of others, though we may influence it, is never fully under our control. What we can control, however, is how prepared we are to show up for them. And preparation begins with self-care. Consider this. When you are rested, centered, and in touch with your own values, aren't you far more patient, compassionate, and capable? Isn't the love you give richer when it flows from abundance rather than depletion? Prioritizing your needs doesn't mean ignoring others. It means setting boundaries, recharging, and honoring your humanity so that when you do give, it's authentic and sustainable. So I challenge you, this week, pick one act of self-care you've been neglecting. Maybe it's getting enough sleep, carving out time for a hobby, or simply saying no when you're stretched too thin. Don't see it as selfishness. See it as strengthening your ability to live justly, wisely, and with integrity, for yourself and for others. Because in Stoicism, valuing yourself is not a rejection of others. It's the very foundation of being able to serve them well. Sign 4. Struggling to accept compliments. Have you ever noticed how difficult it can be to accept a compliment? Someone tells you, "You did a great job," and your immediate instinct is to brush it off, deflect, or downplay it. You say things like, "Oh, it wasn't much," or "Anyone could have done it." On the surface, this may look like humility, but in reality, it's often another way of undervaluing yourself. Stoicism teaches us to view ourselves objectively, not inflated with arrogance, but not diminished by insecurity either. To see ourselves clearly is to acknowledge both our shortcomings and our strengths. When we reject compliments, what we're really doing is denying truth. The person offering praise sees something real in us, a strength, an achievement, or a virtue in action. To dismiss it is to ignore reality, and in a sense, insult the effort it took to earn it. The Stoics remind us that humility is not about pretending we have no strengths. True humility is about recognizing those strengths without exaggeration and without shame. Epictetus advised his students to be neither lifted up nor cast down by reputation, meaning that our worth isn't dictated by external voices. But this doesn't mean we should close our ears when others acknowledge something good in us. Instead, the Stoic approach is balance. Accept praise not as fuel for your ego, but as feedback, a reflection of your virtues in action. If someone praises your patience, accept it and reflect. Yes, in that moment, I chose temperance. If someone admires your courage, acknowledge that you acted in line with virtue, and let that remind you of your capacity to do so again. Here's a simple practice. The next time someone compliments you, resist the urge to deflect. Just say, "Thank you," not as an act of vanity, but as an act of gratitude and fairness. Then take a moment to reflect privately. What virtue did I exercise to earn that compliment? Accepting compliments gracefully isn't about boosting your ego. It's about aligning yourself with truth and cultivating self-awareness. When you do that, you not only strengthen your sense of self-worth, you also open the door to further growth. So the next time you struggle with a compliment, remember, acknowledging your strength doesn't make you arrogant, it makes you honest. And honesty for the Stoics is a form of virtue.
Sign 6. Excessive self-criticism. Self-awareness is strength. But when self-awareness turns into constant self-criticism, it crosses into self-sabotage. We often replay mistakes in our minds, magnifying them until they become proof of inadequacy. This relentless inner voice whispers, "You're not good enough. You'll never measure up." Over time, it chips away at confidence and worth. The Stoics were strict about discipline, but not about cruelty. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to correct faults without self-hatred. Epictetus urged his students to separate failure from identity. Mistakes are events, not definitions of who you are. Excessive criticism doesn't build character, it erodes it. True Stoic discipline is constructive. Acknowledge the error, extract the lesson, then let it go. Dwelling endlessly is wasted energy. If you wouldn't speak to a friend with the same harshness you use on yourself, then you're not practicing justice, even toward your own soul. Sign 7. Fear of expressing boundaries. How often do you say yes when you want to say no? Many of us sacrifice time, energy, and peace just to avoid disappointing others. but every unspoken boundary whispers the lie that your needs are less important. Stoicism values justice, and justice includes fairness toward yourself. If you constantly abandon your own needs, you live unjustly, not only to yourself, but also to others who deserve your authentic presence. Marcus Aurelius wrote about acting according to nature, living truthfully, without pretense. A life without boundaries is not truthful, it is performance. Setting boundaries isn't selfish, it's clarity. It's a declaration: I respect myself enough to honor my limits. And when you respect your limits, you show up stronger, calmer, and more present for others. Sign 8. Constant comparison to others. It's easy to look sideways in life, comparing careers, relationships, wealth, or status. Modern life amplifies this with social media, where curated images become silent accusations of inadequacy. But comparison is a thief. It steals joy, peace, and the ability to appreciate your own progress. The Stoics warned against envy. Epictetus taught, if you focus on what is beyond your control, you guarantee unhappiness. And what is more uncontrollable than the life path of another person? Your path is yours alone. Comparison blinds you to the truth. Worth is not measured by relative status, but by living in alignment with virtue. Wisdom, courage, justice, and temperance, these are the measures of a good life. When you compare, you abandon the only domain you control, yourself. When you stop comparing, you regain freedom. Sign 9. Seeking validation over integrity. There's a quiet danger in shaping your life around the opinions of others. Maybe it's chasing likes, bending your values for approval, or keeping silent when your conscience urges you to speak. This is another way of undervaluing yourself, believing others' voices hold more weight than your own reason. Marcus Aurelius marveled at this contradiction. We all love ourselves more than other people, but care more about their opinion than our own. Stoicism calls this a kind of slavery, living bound by the shifting judgments of others. Validation is fleeting. Today they cheer, tomorrow they criticize. But integrity, living in harmony with your principles, outlasts applause. When you value integrity over approval, you anchor yourself in something unshakable. Respect rooted in virtue is worth infinitely more than validation rooted in opinion. Sign 10. Neglecting self-reflection. Life moves quickly. Work, responsibilities, distractions, all can push us into autopilot. And without reflection, we drift. Neglecting reflection is undervaluing yourself because it means you're living without awareness, repeating mistakes without learning, and ignoring the wisdom within your own experiences. The Stoics built reflection into daily practice. At night, Seneca reviewed his day. Where did I act with virtue? Where did I fall short? What will I do better tomorrow? Marcus Aurelius filled pages with meditations, not for others, but to keep himself honest. Reflection doesn't mean endless analysis. It means pausing to ask, am I living by my values? Am I growing in character? Without this practice, life slips by unnoticed. With it, every day becomes a step toward wisdom. Reflection is self-respect in action. It's how you remind yourself, my life is worth examining. My choices are worth refining. I am worth the effort of growth. If this video gave you something to reflect on, consider subscribing so you don't miss the next lesson. Share it with someone who may need the reminder, and let me know in the comments which of these signs resonated most with you. Remember, growth is a daily practice, and we walk this path together.